Thrilled to be here. Impact Strategist does impact lives. Impact Strategist is a community thinker. Impact Strategist is a transformative leader. Impact Strategist seeks to, but let's also desegregate impact and strategy. Impact is an end outcome. But you develop ideas, you develop a mission, you develop a vision. To actualize that, you need a strategy. But the outcome of your strategy is what defines your impact. What is it that you intend to achieve and execute in your programming? With particular focus, and I think the thrust of this conversation is about young people, the youth, changing lives, impacting them meaningfully. There are two examples to this. In this studio, this dialogue you're having an outreach and reaching out to communities for people to engage, to dialogue, to learn, to listen, to unlearn, to change their lives. From small steps to big steps. There are positive impacts and there are negative impacts. What you are doing is positively impactful. What you have experienced here recently in Shemaletewa, I think the client you have is negative. Where you manipulate minds of people and people die, something that's negative. Where you use your leadership and exposure and the influence, and our young people are exposed to drugs and you dispense this, that is negative impact. Impact is about changing lives. Impact is about crafting the future. Impact is about ownership. So that's, in my view, how I define it.
Okay. In your line of work as an impact strategist, what would you say was a time that you worked on something or worked with an organization or somebody, and you would say the decisions that were made there had a positive outcome?
Indeed, in my other life, as a head of strategic initiatives in the Office of the President, with particular focus on community peace building and resilience, especially in the countering and monitoring prevention of violent extremism. My core unit of engagement with our team was on the youth, to disrupt the ecosystem of violent extremists. In doing so, we had a very serious thought pattern on how to address the pertinent issues our young people face. Together with partners like the Kenya Red Cross, Kenya Human Rights Commission, and Swahili Pot, we crafted an interactive programs that engage with young people to change their lives. Not only to change their lives, but also align them to the governance ecosystem that they operate on. And that, there's no dignity in violence. But doing so, you have to give alternative options. And this is precisely the purpose of strategy. And in giving alternative options, in 2018, our former President Uhuru Kenyatta was selected as the global champion for youth at the UN General Assembly. And the debate we asked ourselves was, we have our president as the global champion for youth. What is it that Kenya can share globally in a country that is battling unemployment, drugs, organized crime, violent extremism? One of the things then we meted together with the team and the working partners was to establish a robust mechanism for looking at the place of science, technology, and innovation, to have dignified alternative livelihoods and entrepreneurship. That, I think, is amongst one of the singular outcomes and impactful engagement for the young people. As we speak, we have multiple innovation hubs across the country. And I must say, we borrowed heavily from the infrastructural capabilities of Swahili Pot. It is astute leadership and robust networks of young people to inspire other people in other networks, including the Lake Basin Innovation Hub, including the Combelt Innovation Hub in Kwale, and multiple others, and transforming ICT centers established by local members of parliament to become a center for innovation, science, and technology. And in doing so, I think we change lives. We engage with different people, with communities, particularly the young people, who are the thrust of our engagement.
Okay. Now, You've talked about providing alternative options. You've mentioned disrupting the ecosystem of violent extremism, right? And then also alternative options. When we look at the coastal region, something that the youths are grappling with is the issue of drugs, drug abuse. For somebody who's an impact strategist, if looking at this region, how do we end that menace? Because it has been there, and it's the youths who are actually affected by this. How would you advise, especially the county government or the coastal region, to deal with the drug menace in the area?
I think I'm least qualified to explore the options in that area. I think it has been a national concern.
Yeah.
It has been a regional concern to secure the future of our young people.
Yeah.
Drug addiction, drug supply, it destroys lives. Not only destroys lives, it destroys the economy of this country. It destroys our community, our young people.
Yeah.
There is no dignity in the drug enterprise. And young people must be adequately equipped to confront the menacing challenge of the drug ecosystem, not only in the coast, anywhere in Kenya or in the region. Doing so requires leadership that is very focused on helping young people to overcome this. It requires character. It requires mentoring young people through parenting, through our schooling system, through our institutions, religious institutions, to have and make these young people to be prepared and adequately unlock their purpose in life. Because the synergy between people, purpose and performance is very unique. But for a young person who is at the crossroads of drug addiction, who is at the crossroads of drug induction through peers or a very robust ecosystem that deals with drugs, is very tragic. And I call upon the leadership, past and present, to make their intentional purpose to disrupt and to eliminate this ecosystem. There are people who have made their lives and thrived at the expense on the lives of others. There's no dignity in that. But for the young people who are the consumers of this, it is up to them to be self-aware through because you ask yourself, what is it that you want to be in the future? Drug is not an option. Drug taking or drug business is not an alternative option. There's no dignity in it. So we need to build character. We need to infuse values of integrity, values of self-awareness, of honesty with self, because you have to be very intentional where you want to be. Some things are easier said than done. But as an individual, as a young person, you must walk the talk in improving and changing your life, and drugs is not one of them. Yes,
I like that. We have to be intentional with our lives. Now, coming to the youth now, how does a young person make a decision to have an impactful life?
There are multiple things they can do. Leadership is relational. First is the relational lifestyle, the relationship you have with yourself. You have to be self-aware, and then to also envision how your future will be. Let's be very practical. For example, what will be a young person, a boy or a girl, navigating our ecosystem today in a hyper-vigilant, volatile, complex life? What will they need to do? First, you need to understand your ecosystem. And then, you must lead your life from the future. For example, now we're in 2025, right? Every young person must ask themselves, where do they want to be in the next 3 or 2 years or 5 years? Having identified where you want to be. For example, you want to finish college. You want to get the right skills for the future of your employment and for your livelihood. Once you have identified that, then think back from the future to the present. Leading from the future, therefore, means to be very deliberate in what you want to do. What is it that you need to do coming backward from here, and from 2025 to 2030? What is it that you need to do as your checklist, with discipline, with character, with less distraction for you to achieve this. There are three things that happen. You must be very strategic in what you intend to do. You must set out your plan on how to do it.
Yeah.
But more importantly, you must have the discipline in execution. So young people, the future belongs to them, as you said.
Yeah.
I have Gen Zs in my house, and every time we debate, they tell me "Omenigich." So "Omenigich," I don't know what they mean. I think "Omeniget."
Like, do you get me? Yeah.
Whether you gitch or not, the gitching of it must mean understanding your environment.
Yeah.
Understanding your environment, and by being not only being deliberate, but also being disciplined.
Yeah.
Through that self-awareness, I think is to shape that perceptions around you and fix the problem in a very plausible way. What is it that you want with your life? That clarity of purpose, that dignified engagement, that personal conviction that you can do better than what you are now, very important. Particularly, young people wallowing in poverty, in circumstances beyond their control. They can change their lives. They can change their lives by aligning themselves with the right people, with the right friends, who are more strategic in their thinking. Align themselves also with institutions like Swahili Pot, and then make a deliberate effort to glean insights, ideas, programming that will really help them.
Yeah.
But talk is cheap. They must also talk the talk. Walking the talk requires discipline. Walking the talk requires character,
Yeah.
self-restraint, and more importantly, self-awareness.
Yeah. We are speaking to Mr. Mukhtar Abdi Ogle. He is an impact strategist. And I do have a message here from Chief Mentor Mahmood, and he's saying, following keenly on the conversation, Dr. Mukhtar has been consistently supporting and encouraging building of hubs to support youth in livelihoods and innovation. He has been a true strategist in bringing different stakeholders connecting for bigger impact. We are grateful for the support he has always accorded to young people, especially in the coastal region.
Oh man, that's very kind. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. Again, in navigating those challenges,
Yes.
I'm a teacher. In my other life, I'm a teacher, and I want this conversation to be very impactful.
Yeah.
Not only impactful, it's not about us, but for those who are listening to us,
Yeah.
especially the young people. Young people must do the hard work of envisioning their future. Young people must focus on what matters. Focus on what matters requires a deliberate effort to study your environment and how to do it better. And I said avoid distraction. As you mentioned, drug, I think it's a distraction.
Yeah.
We must look into the past, because all these issues I was telling you about from 2018, from the former president Uhuru Kenyatta to our present, we must look at our present, at our past, and also examine our present.
Yeah. Mukhtar, as I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, and people have different stories, and people come from different environments. We've talked about poverty, and you say those who come from poverty-stricken areas need to fight to get out, right? Now, when this is all I know, see, I'm in this environment where I see this and this is all I know, and there's nobody. I think somebody said, there's a guest we had here who said there was no one they could refer to as successful. Nobody they could refer to and say, oh, Dr. Mukhtar is successful, so I can achieve that. If you're for a young person who's in that environment and this is all they know, how do they break out and decide, this is not the life I want, I want to move different? Because your environment shapes you. Yeah.
Correct. I think they say in life, you don't get what you deserve.
Yeah.
You get what you negotiate. So they must negotiate their life out of this.
Yeah.
For example, you're a young man in Majengo. I think we need to debunk the assumptions. Blame game, wallowing in that pain of your present or even in your past is not sufficient. going to deal in drugs, Mira, Story Ajaba,
Mugoka.
Mogoka. The sun will rise again tomorrow. So those distractions are delusional. But I'm a poor person in Majengo with a poor family, surrounded by an environment of drugs. We need to envision your future. You must ask yourself, man, this can't be as it is. I must do something. We come from a generation which have the opportunity of science, technology, and innovation, who are better educated than our grandparents. Our grandparents were able to navigate better than us.
Yeah.
But with these opportunities, what is it that's holding you back? The distance between you and success is you. So make a deliberate effort as a young person and do some future back thinking. This is the future you envision, and this is where you are. Walk back to your present from the future. But most significantly, you must think differently and act accordingly. Look for friends to guide you and help you. You know, your thought pattern defines the actions you undertake. The actions you undertake will define what impact that will have on your life. Therefore, focus on what matters for you as you want to change, and also you can create your future now. How? Think about it. What is it that, because you don't become rich overnight? Link with your partners, link with your friends. Richness is a process. Health is a process. Character building is a process. You must be different from the way you were last year. And the answer is in your hands. The answer is in your thoughts. Some things are easier said than done.
Yeah.
Young people your age in the last 10 years did not have the opportunities that you have in Swahili Put. Right?
True.
So the space was created. Here you are articulating your competence.
Yeah.
Your credible competence in making difference in others' lives and also in your lives. So, and again, in a world of frontier, cutting-edge technologies, where we are able to relate with success stories everywhere, the onus is on the individual to relate, seek mentors, seek people they can relate to, look at their lifestyle. What is it that they have achieved in their success? Act as such people in these poor neighborhoods. I will tell them, act away from your comfort zone. You need to leapfrog your life away from what it is.
How do you act away from your comfort zone? There are people who say, again, there are people who don't plan. And they don't plan for tomorrow, and they don't plan for the year. They don't plan 2 years ahead, or 3 years ahead, or 5 years ahead. They say we are rolling with it. It's life, you know?
So rolling it with it has also its implications.
Uh-huh.
And that's where you come to strategy.
Yeah.
First, embrace the reality. You know, you can't run away from the reality.
Yeah.
Once you embrace it, ask yourself, how do I fix it? Because you have examined the signals of the past, and you have seen the trends in our society, and you see how dehumanizing poverty is, and you are part of these statistics. So what is your vision? One, I want to get out of poverty. How? What are the options available? What are the networks that I can leap into? Who are the friends I can talk to? Because if you lock in yourself in a room and have mavoka, story ya jaba itazidi tu hapo. But the point is, once you have established that vision and you are very intentional and actively focused on doing that, these networks will also provide you an exit plan. And this is where the strategy is rooted. The vision is thinking about a plan for your future, a hopeful one, best possible future for yourself. And the strategy you engage with, especially even listening to this conversation, is to develop a vision that can be actionable. A strategy without action and that is not executed, it remains a story. Yeah. But you must have the discipline to move from where you are. What I say, it's only the individual who can move themselves from where they are.
Yeah.
The opportunities are there. They can achieve and focus on a win at the end of the game. Life is a game. It doesn't come easy.
I like that. You've said vision. Now, there's the times people have dreams, right?
Yes.
And so the times you hear people say have, for lack of a better word again, have reason, like dreams that you can achieve, right?
Correct.
So Gona might have a dream, but also looking at what he's dreaming about or what he wants to achieve in 2 years, and like, how are you going to achieve all this in 2 years? At times, is there space where we dream big, too big, to something that we cannot achieve? Or do we have to limit our dreams to, okay, this is reasonable, we can... If somebody says they want to become the next Kenyan president right now, amongst us in studio, so let's talk about that dream where Gona says he wants to become the president in the next 2 years. And he'll say to me like, yeah, okay.
So let me put it this way. Let's talk about poverty and the young people and changing lives.
Yeah.
That truly matters to this conversation. Of course, to be a president also is doable. Others who have done it have done it.
Yeah.
Our president was a chicken seller.
Yeah.
And today at that age, he's our president.
Yeah.
That enough should be sufficient inspiration for young people.
Yeah.
But let me say, there are 4 things that are very important in doing this. It's important to dream big.
Yeah.
But small steps also matter.
Okay.
The small incremental successes that you help do in changing your life are critical to the bigger dream. You don't become a president overnight. At a MCA ni shida. So I think they need to do 3 things for these young people listening to us. Develop an inspiring vision.
Yeah.
Do a mapping of what your future will be. Pick a piece of paper. Then ask yourself, under the circumstance, you are in this environment, what do you need to do? And in that plan that you are drawing, it must be actionable. And do it with the small steps. Right? Secondly, translate that vision into a clear strategy on how to do it. Right? How to do it, I think, will require that you need to prepare and manage the implementation of your plan. 10 years ago, I said this opportunity was here.
Yeah.
But Swahili Port, from what I hear, has business plans for young people. Right?
True.
We have the Hustler Fund.
Yeah.
Did we have before?
No.
How have young people organized themselves, mobilized themselves, asked themselves on the critical utility of the Hustler Fund? How have they held their local leadership from the MCA to the Member of Parliament to account in the utilization of both the Youth Fund and Women Fund and all this?
Yeah.
How? Because it is these voices that matter.
Yeah.
It is these voices that shape the future. Because the future belongs to these young people, particularly the Gen Zs. The Gen Zs are more educated than our generation, and they are more action oriented than our generation. They are tribeless, and like what I said, they relate and align themselves to global thinking, to young people their age. For example, the young people like we have in Kenya, their age mates in Europe, Asia, say it India and China, Israel, America. Those young people are thinking about utilization and leveraging technology to better their lives. They are talking about artificial intelligence. They are talking about machine learning. Right? They are talking about robotics. Now, the disconnect between our Java economy, with due respect to our young people, and for them to be adequately competitive with that generation, we say we have the infrastructure. Swahili Port has that infrastructure.
Yeah.
Digital centers across the country have that infrastructure. It is up to our young people to seize the opportunity and make a difference in their lives.
Yeah.
And I must assure them, if you have the discipline and the character, it is doable.
Okay. Rosalind, good morning. Rosalind says, big up to Swahili Pot FM for bringing in informative guests who really deliberate on the here and now issues. I believe majority of our listeners tunasaidika sana, kongole sana. Then there's a question here for you, Dr. Mukhtar. She says, amazing conversation at the radio station from Dr. Mukhtar Ogle, giving us hope and wise words. Now, my question to him is, a Muslim lady coming from an environment where you need to balance between our values and the expectations of parents who know the environment is toxic. How, as a Muslim lady, do we overcome that? And I'm asking this because I am sure he is a father.
Indeed, I'm a father and also a father of girls.
Yeah.
And these are issues I battle every day.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not a Muslim problem. It's also a Christian problem. It's a parenting problem.
Yeah.
We must be lifted above the fray of our daily challenges and focus on tomorrow. And the operating environment for our young people, especially also for parents, is very difficult.
Yeah.
How do you navigate in a world of, I say, this ambiguity and the thrilling rides of technology? We must do two things. I think parenting is very critical. We must have the adaptive challenge, adaptive leadership to harness the situation and call for a deeper dialogue and conversation on what it takes to a good parenting. In a shrinking economy where poverty is very dehumanized for majority, parents have a serious challenge. But this connection between parents and young people is very important. The place of values is very important. Religion, whether it is Christian or Islam, teaches us these values. Our parents must lead by example, but our young people must also have that self-awareness and discipline.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you need to have well-honed skills as a parent to define really what the problems are. As a young girl, I think she's asking a very pertinent issue.
Yeah.
They need guidance. I haven't described how the situation is. One thing we have also dealt with our team is the issue of mental health, trauma healing and reconciliation. Because the expectations are high, opportunities are less, we must find a way. That mental agility, that growth mindset for young people is very important. But talking is easy. They need guidance. They must be guided because the world has become very difficult. We must set an enduring strategic direction and harness the best in our thinking. As parents, as good examples, as technology leaders, as people in entrepreneurship, avail these spaces. Actually, with Malenga 101, we are discussing the day before yesterday on communities that have challenges of being protective of their children. And we all are in a world that is digital and very volatile.
Yeah.
What do we need to do? We need to look at spaces that are secure, within distance, to have a learning opportunity for our young people. Because the future is digital. I've seen in Mombasa there are quite a number of Cisco academies. I'm not pitching for Cisco, but I think cutting-edge technologies that help that young people to acquire these skills. And many of these skills are acquired online. The world of going to a room and sitting in front, and it has changed. Many people are self-learning. They are learning and unlearning. But young people, I think, parents, we need to do a very deliberate, strategic scenario planning for what our future will look like for young people. We must be able to predict the future better. But if you are not adequately skilled, you can't predict that future. As parents, I think we have to shape our perceptions of what the issues are and identify a plausible solution. And there's strength in the group. There's strength in the group, group of parents and group of entrepreneurs, like what you are doing.
Yeah.
The strength of the group is that it helps us craft solutions, new solutions that are seamless, which we can integrate
Okay.
in the demands of our situation.
Now, Dr. Mukhtar, mimi hapa I got you. Umesikia?
Umenigich,
Yeah,
umenigich.
nimegich. Now, there are those, for example, umetaja Gen Zs
Yes.
and youth. They believe that politics is take center stage. Na wao kwa mtazamo wao wanaamini how wamehijack their main path ya kupata vile vitu ambavyo kwamba wanafaa kupata. Do you believe that sehemu ya how youth who think that leaders ndio obstacle ya wao kufikia malengo yao?
Very powerful question. I think our young people must grow outside the area of blame game. This future belongs to them, and that future has come already.
Yeah.
And I said, Gen Zs, these are our children, and they are more educated compared to our generation. They are more solution oriented than our generation. So what is the challenge for them? You know, as I said in my earlier remarks, in life you don't get what you deserve.
Yeah.
It's what you negotiate.
Yeah.
Young people must exploit their significant potential. But that exploitation and amplifying their leadership for the future requires purpose. Purpose that is rooted in exceptional performance for their future. What do they have that we don't have? We do not have in our generation. These young people have a dash of creativity and the courage to dare. So even as we do this, they have a growth mindset. They must redefine the stakes for their future. And this is truly theirs.
Yeah.
How do they lead up? They must step up their leadership responsibly, respectfully, but with a focus on results. And that is when I know what you want, is when we can dialogue. They must be able to define that. 2, they need to observe the situation objectively. Our politics is very fluid. They need the guidance of our leaders.
Yeah.
They need the guidance of our parents. But they must also glean for insights on some of these and ask hard questions, solid questions. It is their right. 2, but must be relevant to the context. If you have things seen in other country, it's not always, but we can do. But we can connect the insights and look at the intersection between our core purpose, the leadership they provide, and the reality of the situation. Together, I tell you, they can shape the future.
Okay.
And they are a critical factor in our politics for tomorrow.
I love the fact that we have a lot of hubs currently in each and every constituency. But then looking at like the crime rate, it's still increasing. Do we need to re-strategize? Because we already have at least a good number of hubs. And yes, a good number of young people have gotten some knowledge from the same. But it seems like the unemployment rate is still high, crime rate like in the coast region is still high.
So we need to unpack. We need to unpack the nexus between crime and the latent opportunities in these hubs, and why still our young people are not happy. The happiness index is a function of your lifestyle. But first, before I go to the crime, what was the purpose of the hubs? The innovation hubs were created to give a platform to our young people to look at opportunities in science, technology, and innovation, and deploy their latent creativity by reimagining the future and utilizing the cutting-edge technologies, which is actually shaping our life today, let alone about tomorrow. 2, how many of our young people are adequately inspired in utilizing this space? Out of 120 of them will come to the site. But again, it's also the economy. What are the available opportunities for our young people. Our young people can create their future, especially in the content creators, in sports, music. A lot of things are happening. But all of us cannot be sportsmen and women. All of us cannot be musicians. But to answer your question, crime is also a function of society. What are the opportunities? What prompts these young people to engage in this? What is it that we are doing to fix them, to redirect their energies and skill to better use? Because I said, there's no dignity in violence. There's no dignity in crime. These are our children. What is it that they're missing? Is it parenting? Is it social influence? But what does crime achieve for them? What is it that we have done deliberately, given our functional capabilities at different levels, at the county and national level? All these opportunities. What is the sustainability of those projects? Or are we launching hubs this for political validation? Today Mheshimiwa amefanya hivi and he has set up this. What is the durability? What is the sustainability of these efforts we are doing in the hubs? So we must re-examine even the ICT centers. Are they truly serving the purpose in which they intended?
I think that's a very good question, what you just asked. Because when you say out of 100 people, 100 youths, only 20 might actually attend or rather get involved with the hubs that are available. Hence the question, why? Is it that what they are addressing, or the programs in these various hubs, are not addressing issues that the youths in the coastal region are facing? So when Gona asked, do we re-strategize even with the hubs? Do they re-strategize and come up with better programs or different programs that would address the issues that the youths are facing?
Precisely, and that's why I was talking about Cisco.
Yeah.
If you look at the learning architecture of Cisco, it is future-oriented. And for the leadership that will examine these issues, we must be futuristic. Our population is increasing. We have significant number of graduates from every level of education. How do we harness this latent human capital? What is it that we need to establish to restore hope for these young people? As practical as it gets. And you're right. We need to rethink. We need a strategic rethink on the functional capabilities of these hubs. Because you can't continue it as usual. If you think it has not served, have we done enough sensitization? In one of the programs I was telling you in terms of entrepreneurship, we have a program we referred to in 2019, Out of School Youth for Science, Technology and Innovation. And I tell you, many of the young men and women I know today are running hubs. There's one in Nairobi called the STEM Impact Center, led by very young people. From nothing, and now I think they are paying a rent of 300,000. But they put their creative potential together, examined possibilities, and secured it, and employing others. So we need to identify inspirational outlets and units for our young people. But more importantly, we must be as honest and realistic as possible to address these issues. Kuchapa Kiingereza is not enough. Factually, it must be impactful. We must inspire, and the solution must also come from them. They must be part of the conversation.
Yeah. There's a question here. Osman, good morning. He's from Wajirbor.
Yes.
He says, this is a good program that adds great value to the critical thinking of us parents and youths. We really appreciate Swahilipot for hosting this great strategist. Thank you. Big thanks to my brother, Dr. Mukhtar, for the wisdom he is pumping into us parents and youths. Now, my question to Dr. Mukhtar is our politics and the political environment a threat or a plus to our youths?
That's a powerful question. Thank you. That guy is from my village. It's one of the villages. I'm glad Swahili Pot is in Wajir. So now, two quick ones. Politics is how you make it.
Yeah.
But for me, proscription is not. It's not blaming and all this is not enough. But I think our politics can be recalibrated. There are two things we suffer from. From the dose and the Western model of democracy and our negative ethnicity. Our political mobilization, if it is fixated on issues that help our communities and our young people as we are in this conversation is to be very important.
Yeah.
But when our politics and leadership is ethnically defined, we lose the plot. I'm glad. I will tell you something. I think the late Yusuf Haji, may God bless his soul, was part of a team that led the BBI, Building Bridges Initiatives. At that time, I was part of government, and we helped in part of the mobilization to bring Kenyans together. I'm glad today we are back to that vision. We have a broad-based government because Kenya is for all of us. So, but when you segregate the others because of, for whatever reason, that's bad politics.
Yeah.
Secondly, the promise of devolution has not been significantly secured. But what have we learned? What are the missteps? Mistakes, you know, are an opportunity for learning. When you become governor in the next 10 years,
Amen.
how different will you be?
Very different.
You see, saying it is enough. When they come and they're looking for these positions,
Yeah.
and again, you must understand our governors and the leadership is operating in this ecosystem.
Yeah.
There are no angels they are dealing with. They're dealing with the same mindset. Unless we recalibrate our thinking about the value of politics in our lives, and also ensure a citizenship that is a citizenry that is very conscious of their responsibilities, and they can hold their leaders accountable, then that's how we can sanitize our politics. There's no perfection in politics, wherever it is. But for Kenya, I think we can do better. But more importantly, let us celebrate our successes. We had a very rapturous, conflictive politics, moved into multi-party democracy, moved into devolution, and here we are. She's aspiring to be a governor for Mombasa, but which is a good idea.
Yes, I am.
Yes, she can. I believe her.
Yes, I
She
can.
Is that genuine? Even the way he's pressing.
No, he does not.
Mombasa?
He does not, believe me.
Mombasa?
No, from his eyes, I can see some deception. Anyway, ask your question.
He can see deception from your eyes.
Mombasa, nayo.
Yes.
But
See?
I know a place.
He's already
She can.
said no. With anyway, we have a few minutes, but there's a young person I was talking to, and she came in and she's going through a tough time, right? And she said, life is hard. It's hard, everything. There's somebody who's trying to look for a job. They lost a job, trying to look for a job, trying to get their life back on track. So these are daily challenges that we experience. Life has ups and downs, right? But then there's also the element of grit. When you have a vision and you put in place goals and you're like, this is how I want to achieve this. But in the process of trying to achieve that, you take a detour, or something happens in life that gives you a detour. How do you maintain that momentum despite the challenges in life?
The bit of life, I think, it is fraught with multiple challenges.
Yeah.
And I like what you said. Grit is where it matters.
Yeah.
The ability for you to deploy resilience,
Yeah.
and navigate appropriately.
Yeah.
Avoid the distractions. Focus on what matters. That's how you arrive. Though it's not easy, because we can't predict the future, but we can fix our present. What tomorrow holds, we don't know. When I was coming for a function here, it was not in my scheme of things to be at Swahili Port till Malenga 001 ambushed me.
Yeah.
But because we don't know about tomorrow. So, but I think, I'm very sorry about what happened to the young girl.
Yeah.
But I think first she needs to be self-aware, examine her environment, but please, whatever it takes, exploit your resilience. And it is within you, the power to change yourself. And that many of the things that take us off track are distractions.
Yeah.
Distractions that add no value to what you intend to do. And it's across the country. It's across country. And I must repeat, mental health is a national crisis.
Yeah.
When young people, have multiple deferred dreams, and yet they ask themselves why. being a drunkard, restore your jabba, or drugs will not fix the problem. So you must be very intentional on what you intend to do. But I said, as you said it, let her exploit her grit. That is where the solution is.
Thank you so much. What's your parting shot as we
engage on this? I think Kenya belongs to all of us.
Yeah.
To the young people, it takes leadership. It takes discipline. It takes character. And it takes a deliberate effort to be futuristic.
Yeah.
Invest in your future by fixing the present. Thank you.
All right, invest in your future by fixing the present. That is it from us. We have been speaking to Dr. Mukhtar Abdi Ogle. He is an impact strategist, and I hope you have taken something home today. We say bye. Good morning.